Just want to share with you guys the way everything's looking right now here, year 7 of this backyard food forest project, here on April 2nd, 2018. Right off the bat here, we've got one of the tree kales in full bloom, looking beautiful with all the yellow flowers. Behind that, near the fence line, these are all clumping bamboo. They're a little dry at the moment, but they're starting to flush out new growth. Here we've got a wild plum tree, kept unpruned. Accomplishes a couple different things. It does provide fruit, provides beautiful flowers that are beneficial insect attractors, and it gives a little bit of privacy there next to the fence. It's really cool. Over here we've got another patch of Brassicola racea. These are all volunteer plants, came up from a compost pile over here where I had done some pruning off the other varieties of tree kale and tree collards I have growing, and this is what came up. Really impressed by this. Going to continue to collect seed, take cuttings from these plants, and just continue to hone in on some of the best tree kale collard plants you can grow. Back over there we've got the cardoon. There's a couple of them growing there. This was the garden that I had seeded, and the plants got eaten by pill bugs, but we did get left with a little bit of kale. There's some radishes here. This bed is going to be planted out with corn today. This bed, nothing survived, and we're going to be putting in some okra that I started indoors as well. So we've got a lot more things growing here in the grow room that need to get transplanted out soon. I'm still trying to get these small seedlings directly planted into the garden rather than potting them up into cups, 4-inch pots, and letting them develop deeper root systems. I just feel like these are ready to go now into the garden, so I'm probably going to be transplanting the corn and the okra today. Down on this level we got a variety of different hot peppers. Towards the bottom here we got some kabocha squash and also some lemongrass there. Growing over on this side too, a little more corn, some chives, wing beans, sunflowers, moringa. Over here in the raised bed gardens, it's hard to see what's growing. I've got something special to share with you guys on the edge of that raised bed. I'll be sharing that with you in a future episode. Right here in front we've got a strawberry patch. Had kind of a rough start, but all the plants have taken and they're looking quite healthy at the moment. We've got a bunch of Armenian cucumber starts that are getting ready to get planted out on the hugelkultur. Over in this raised bed again we got strawberries in front, and then towards the back end there's still some red lettuce there. We've got some tranchuta, which is a wonderful Portuguese kale. We've got the sand propagation station. Should actually be covered with a shade cloth as we're getting some really sunny days here now. I'm going to be transplanting all of these purple tree collards as well as the merit collards out of here within the next day or two. Here we've got figs and loquat. Some of the figs are starting to flush out some green growth now. Back over there in that corner I've got a persimmon tree. And right here's another persimmon tree. We got some ferns and some purple tree collards. There's a citrus, a Meyer lemon over there. So right over here, big announcement. This project's going to get underway in the next few days and should be completed by the end of the month. There's going to be several steps to it, and I'm not in a big rush, but I'm going to be building a beautiful pond over in this area. I've got the liner. I've been gathering up the stones, the rocks, have the design in mind, so now we're just going to start to clear the area, do some digging, and get everything put together. Over here we've got, and I've got some plants ready to go next to the edge of the pond, more subtropical species like the white sapote, got the dwarf Cavendish banana, and of course the pond itself will also have a lot of different plants in there. Over here we got kind of a hodgepodge of things going on, just how I like it. There's going to be some tomatoes growing in here. There'll be some sweet potato greens, which we love a lot. There's some ashitaba in here. We got the kale. There's some cabbage coming up. There's flowers mixed in between. Got some snap peas back over there I'll be building the trellis for today. The hugelkultur mounds are super abundant with greens. It's going to slowly shift as we head into summer with vining crops. So the Armenian cucumbers and also the kabocha squash are going to be taking up real estate in 2 of these hugel mounds. I'm going to leave this largest one here predominantly for greens. Right here being shaded, I've got some newly transplanted amaranth. Loquat tree. We've got a few fruits, not many to speak of this year, as the pruning that I had done really took off most of where the fruit would have came from. That's okay. Still a beautiful evergreen, tropical looking tree. We are getting some fruit from it. Over here we got some currant, and I'm not going to name every single plant. There are some plants out here which I'm kind of leaving for a surprise later, new additions. But as we get into this little bed over here, we've got some red currant, ashitabas growing all through here, sea buckthorn, some borage. Over here on this side we've got another currant. This one has got many flowers on it. It's doing really well in this part sun, dappled sun under the loquat. Here we've got a little patch of arugula, and that's right at the base of this 2-in-1 planting of pears. Got a little patch of artichokes here with some walking onions in between, some comfrey. This is a Santa Rosa pear and a flavor grenade pluot, and they're both setting a lot of little baby fruits on there. Going down this pathway, you could see the pak choy that I was growing is now starting to bolt. This is a fast grower, a short season. That's why I planted it in the pathway here, or right on the edge of the pathway. So I think I'm going to actually do maybe 2 rows of something like that next year in this area. But that's working out really well, the pathway plantings. We've got strawberries and flowers and comfrey and yarrow and Swiss chard over here. I need to kind of scrape back a lot of these wood chips and put a nice finer mulch on top, keep it protected from the chickens scattering it around and such, and just really beautify this space. But everything's looking really good. Check out all the oregano. Just beautiful. This would be a wonderful time to harvest and dry it if I were looking to do that. But it makes a wonderful living mulch around the base of fruit trees, around stepping stones, what have you. This is going around this macadamia nut tree. We got the honeyberry here, a couple different honeyberries, more strawberries. Over on this side at the base of the tree we have a merit collard, we have an artichoke. There's a lupine flower. We've got cabbage in the pathways on that side. Here we've got a 2-in-1 planting of pears once again. Over here we've got some lilies popping up. We got some parsley, comfrey. Now here's something I'm really excited about. The avocado tree, which was suffering from some pretty poor health, is flushing out a lot of new growth. It's looking really good. So protecting the bark with a tree paint, giving it fertilizer, regular water, and a shade cloth have proven to be highly effective at bringing this tree back to good health. Over here we got a grapefruit tree, more greens everywhere. Again, a few plants that I'm not going to mention at this time. I want to surprise you guys with those when they grow up a bit. Here we've got an apium tree. Not going to get much of a fruit set on this tree. I have seen a couple fruits on here, but we're probably going to have to wait another year before we really get a heavy set on this tree. Different factors, one being the pruning, one being the weather that we had. So it just never really set many flowers this year. So I'm going to take good care of this tree this year, give it some fertilizer, and look forward to next year. Right next door, we got an apricot tree, very similar. We've got a few fruits on the tree, but not much to speak of. Same issues with this tree, but still a beautiful structure being developed, and I know we're going to see some great future harvest from the tree, so I'm not too worried about it. Next door we got the almond tree. Decent sized almonds forming on the tree. Not a whole bunch, That's fun. And again, another tree which is going to take a little bit more time and detailed pruning to keep smaller and productive. So we got a lot of area here that's going to fill in, and we'll continue to structure that tree more outward than upward. So you can see the rest of all the trees here on this hedgerow. We've got a variety of different stone fruits. Some of them are fruiting like crazy right now, like this Babcock white peach. I've got a white nectarine over there and a Florida King peach, all doing very well at this time. In this back corner, we've got this massive artichoke plant doing really well. That's right at the base of the grapes. Starting to flush out some new growth. Did some heavy pruning on this plant over here to restructure how the plant grows. I'll be sharing with you more on that later. Here we've got some sugar cane, which overwintered, is now coming back strong. Another grape back there I just planted. We've got basil, and here's a prickly pear cactus. Needs to get put into the ground. I had a cactus growing at one time over in that corner that I thought was prickly pear, but it just never fruited, and it had some other issues. It wasn't in the best place either, so I just took it out. Ended up picking up one that I know is a prickly pear. You can see the ceanothus, nitrogen fixing evergreen, beautiful beneficial insect attracting plant. These are doing well all throughout the garden. We got beans and peas and sunchokes all here next to the fence. I chose this location to plant my patch of sunchokes, which I usually wouldn't recommend doing at your property line with a neighbor because it could spread potentially, but I'm up against the most vigorous blackberry vines you've ever seen in your life, so there's really no way that this is going to push over there because that's already taken over the space. So it's kind of like a balancing act here. So I chose this as an area to grow those plants. I am going to actually put in another net trellis over here for these beans and peas now. Here we've got an autumn olive flowering, probably about 4.5 feet tall now. 2-in-1 fig tree, pushing out new growth. Brown turkey, blackjack fig. Again, another great example of an artichoke growing as an understory to these young fruit trees. And then up front and in between, we've got things like echinacea. There's a gooseberry there. There's a hibiscus there. There's another hibiscus over there. Another hibiscus here underneath the cage. Over here we got some lemongrass. People get worried about this plant spreading. It's one of the easiest plants to uproot. The roots are very shallow, and just with a simple digging fork you can get up the whole plant in one bunch. So I find you can pretty much grow those wherever you want. We got Tweezy over there doing some bug hunting in the shade of the ceanothus. And here's that Florida King peach tree. It's loaded with fruits. Some of them are getting near ping pong size. Here on April 2nd. Over here we've got the pineapple quince, and there are fruits developing all over this tree. We got fruits off this tree last year as well. This is not a fruit that you would eat out of hand, but rather one that you would process and maybe do some canning with or create a dessert. So we'll be looking more into what we do with that this year, and probably post that over at Plant Based Eats, our other YouTube channel. So over here I've got 3 different cold hardy kiwis, and after having gone over what type of a trellis system I want to build, I've opted to move these a little further apart. So I'm going to leave the one in the middle, and then the one on the left and the one on the right I'm going to move over a couple feet and build a pergola style trellis. That's the plan. So look forward to that coming soon as well. We got some viola flowers, nice edible flower. Can self-seed itself and perennialize through self-seeding, or in the right climate zone will just grow as a perennial. We got some hollyhocks back there by the fence line, and there's some asparagus. The fern's now starting to grow up. This is an asparagus and flower patch. Santa Rosa plum tree is loaded down with little fruit. pomegranate trees are coming back strong. This is a wonderful variety here. Starting to flush out all the new growth. And over here, much taller one near the fence, is a white variety. We've got Brussels sprouts growing underneath these trees. Here's a white mulberry. I've been keeping pruned down really low and looking forward to a harvest of some delicious berries again this year. We've got fava beans sprouting up all down here, little basil plant. Got some potatoes and some more onions with some larkspur rockets seeded in between there. There's a pawpaw tree under this cage being protected from the sun, just using some cardoon leaves. We've got a patch of abundant tree kale here, which I may be renaming here really soon, just based upon many more years of observation and experimentation with the plant. There's bees all over these yellow flowers right now. We got the hugel pots doing really well with the mints. Chicken run. I recently forked over some of the soil, leveled things out, and brought up some worms for the girls. They've got a couple different ways to drink water. Got a little water pot here and also a bucket with nipples on it. This year we've got the grapevines on either side of this chicken coop design, which are going to grow up the framing of the chicken coop, so I'll be doing some training to make that happen. Here we've got the black soldier fly larva bin, which I'm going to restock this year. Right now it's just got a bit of different gardening junk in there. Over here on the right we've got some dino trichales that are going to just start to take off once again. I've grown these varieties long enough to know what happens, but they kind of look like they're done, like they bolted like this, and then all of a sudden they just start flushing out new growth like crazy. So you'll see that we got a nice row of them happening here. The goji berries are doing wonderful around the chicken run. Recently put in this little take apart composter. So basically these come in different sections and you just take them apart. I think this is a great idea for a chicken coop because you can build up your pile and then take it apart, let the chickens scratch into it, build it back up. So here's just your normal chicken compost pile. This works great. But I wouldn't necessarily want to throw food scraps and that sort of thing in there. And I found that the chickens also like having kind of a wall structure they can kind of hide behind from each other. Just gives them another level of privacy. There's a little chicken house yet to be occupied. Just got some bark from one of the trees I took down earlier. Help insulate it from the heat. Got garlic patches everywhere, several of them. More goji berries. Back over here, we've got some mallow growing up. Just a volunteer weed, edible leaves. We got a lot of different vining crops coming up along the fence line here. Some hop vines, Washington navel orange, springing back to life after the cold snaps. So yeah, this whole mound on the left here is going to be primarily greens. There's some mugwort starting to come back here. Merit collards. This hugel mound over here has more merit collards. There's some oregano, comfrey. There's some kabocha seeds growing right there. Ashitaba. This is going to get balanced out with just kabocha for the most part. So I'll be trimming back some of these merit collards, making new plant starts, and filling all of this in with the kabocha squash. Here's a potato patch. I've actually got potato, probably maybe 6 or 7 in different spots throughout the garden. Over here we've got some broccoli in the pathway, aronia berries. We've got more cabbage over on that side, the edge of the pathway, lupine flower. borage. At the center of the garden, I have this somewhat raised bed over here. All around the border, I have daffodils coming up. That should look really nice, with some dahlias behind that, which are a little taller. There's some comfrey and oregano popping up there. And right here in the center, we've got a pineapple guava, beautiful evergreen edible plant. And then I'm going to be putting some sunflowers, some mammoth sunflowers right here on the back end. Chickens are sure enjoying the weather today, taking turns dust bathing over there. Here's another autumn olive, looking wonderful. You can just see how large Stino tree kale is back here, humongous. And again, look at all the bees on the brassica flowers. Just beautiful. So much detail that I still have yet to get into. So many new plants that I've introduced that I haven't talked about in this video. So I hope if this stuff interests you, if you're into creating your own backyard food forest, continue to follow along my journey. Love to have you aboard. And so with that, I hope you're having a great day. And until next time, this is Dan from plantabundance.com. I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care. Oh yeah, and better camera equipment coming soon. I really want you guys to be able to see what's truly happening, growing around here. This camera's done a great job, but it's time to upgrade.